Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley has launched her campaign for US President. She's become the first candidate to formally challenge former President Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. Joining me live now is our regular US political expert, Professor Simon Jackman from the University of Sydney. Thanks very much for your time. First question, I think a lot of us wondered when this happened was, is this the beginning of, more candidates dipping their toe into the pool of the anti-Trump vote? And is this just what Donald Trump wants? More and more people nominating. He sits on one side, all the others are on the other side, splitting up their vote.
Yeah, I think that's a great assessment of the strategic lay of the land, Tom. It's Trump versus a bunch of other people. I think, look, right now it is really a two-horse race if you look at the polls of likely Republican primary voters, and that's Donald Trump and DeSantis, the current governor of the state of Florida. Nikki Haley is barely registering in polls right now. And I think from her perspective, and this might inform the choices of others, Tom, you've got to get in now before these two big, the front runners just run away with this, and it really does settle down to a two-horse race. Trump, frankly, I don't think will mind minnows getting in the field to dilute the votes that might be arrayed against him. And so we'll watch that space. But I think for someone like Nikki Haley, she has to go now before the race just gets too far away from her. People start to get channeled in to behind either Trump or DeSantis.
Yeah, and so that battle, as you allude to, they're either Trump, DeSantis, but also if you can be one of the sort of three or four main players, the other thing that often happens, if someone is bows out but they've got a decent percentage, suddenly they can be a running mate. So is that an element of this tactical early push?
Yeah, I hadn't thought that far down the tree, Tom, but it's a really great supposition that Nikki, of course, Haley, they all want to be president of the United States, but if a consolation prize from a strong primary showing was to end up on the ticket as a running mate and potentially vice president of the United States, and hence the presumptive nominee down the track. Time is on Nikki Haley's side. She's only 51. By the time the election, say she's 53, 4 or even 8 years as VP puts her still way younger than either Joe Biden or Donald Trump, for that matter. And so that is sometimes the play. Nikki Haley, look, let's not underestimate her ambition. She went under Trump from being governor of South Carolina, a great platform to make a run at national politics. She was appointed to be ambassador to the United Nations by Donald Trump. Incredibly ambitious. I think presenting herself as generational change and trying to make that argument and being extremely careful not to criticize Donald Trump head on. Just that she needs people she needs people that like Donald Trump to come vote for her in this Republican primary contest. But interestingly, making the argument about demographic age, at least generational change, and I think letting the rest of her biography, born of Indian parents in the United States, letting that part of her story, let others do the talking on that.
Yes, that's part of the sort of way you appeal to voters. Sometimes you just do rather than say. Hey, we better talk about these spy balloons. I say balloons, at least one of them seems to have been. The others now might have just been research balloons, Simon Jackman. Is this just, reducing tensions? Is it Joe Biden maybe trying to do that? Is this embarrassing for the US? What do you think?
Look, I think what it is that the agencies with the capability for monitoring what's in that part of the atmosphere, from ground level up to up where space begins, that sort of, as they say in military and security circles, domain awareness, the knobs on that got turned up to 11 after the Chinese incursion and the shoot down in the waters just off the Atlantic coast. And what did they find? They started detecting, I think in the readouts are at least, they started detecting small fry, like things that are really tiny. And it says something about the capability, by the way, that they can even see a small university's research kit to do some meteorological observations, if that's what they are. These things are small, and the idea that they can be picked up, and then you can actually put a missile on one, that's pretty remarkable, number one. And I think the challenge for the US now, frankly, is where's the filter? I read a media report this morning, Tom. They can't put F-22s in the air every time they pick up some, it could be a university from, say, Japan or Korea, and it's just made its way over. You can't be putting that sort of kit in the air and doing a shoot down every time you see that. So again, back to that word, domain awareness, the latest chapter in sort of this amazing capability the United States has to detect things, how to filter out the signal from the noise. And that's the big challenge. But look, like you, Tom, I'll be fascinated to see the details when they finally release, if they ever do, but when they finally release what the devil were these things, I think we'll know a lot more. And then the trick for the boffins will be how to filter that out so they're not scrambling jets every time they start to detect these things.
It seems to be going down the same path as space junk in that suddenly we realise how much stuff's put up there, so the people putting it up there will have to monitor it better, I suspect.
Exactly
and let
right.
the authorities
exactly
know.
right.
Simon Jackman.
Another area. Yep.
Thank you. We'll talk again next week.